Really feel like a presidential visit in Portland without protesters. Pick a president on either side of the aisle, and we can almost guarantee that Portlanders have turned out to make their frustrations known. And yes, that did happen today. We saw some people with Trump flags lining Marine Drive, waiting for the president's motorcade to pass by. It's also worth mentioning some of his supporters turned out as well. But let's go into the KGW Vault to look at Portland's real history of protesting presidents.
Portlanders have not always had the best relationships with presidents. Let's go back 52 years to the Nixon administration. The president was planning a visit to Portland that was expected to draw protests. So, to lure young anti-war demonstrators out of the city, the state put on a music festival out in Clackamas County called Vortex One. It remains the only state-sponsored rock festival in U.S. history. When President Jimmy Carter visited the Rose City in 1978, he was greeted by anti-nuclear protesters. President Ronald Reagan got an earful from demonstrators when he made a campaign stop here in 1984. And a member of George H.W. Bush's administration famously dubbed Portland Little Beirut because of the massive protests against the president whenever he came to town in the early 90s. People threw eggs, set bonfires, and burned flags. His son got similar treatment, especially during the Iraq War, with huge crowds gathered in the streets on the night of his second inauguration. When President Obama spoke at the Oregon Convention Center in 2012, demonstrators gathered outside, calling for legalized marijuana and stricter gun laws. That same year, protesters locked themselves inside his Southeast Portland election headquarters, demanding the release of WikiLeaks whistleblower Chelsea Manning. And down in Roseburg, gun rights activists protested his visit after the Umpqua Community College shooting in 2015. A year later, when President Trump was elected, protesters filled the streets for weeks. And then they turned out again when he was inaugurated. When he was in office, President Trump strongly criticized the city and Mayor Ted Wheeler over its sanctuary city status and clashes between protesters and police. In 2020, the Trump administration designated Portland an anarchist jurisdiction, threatening to withhold federal funding from the city. When President Biden was inaugurated, people still protested in Portland, smashing windows at the headquarters of the Oregon Democratic Party.